Funk, and welcome to the first podcast of the building of a 19th century wood-burning steam locomotive called the Lyon. A wood-burning steam locomotive built in 1869 by the Union Iron Works of San Francisco, California. Already over 60% completed, our goal is to have the locomotive completed by 2011 for the 150-year anniversaries of several Civil War events. The project cost is estimated at over $1 million. A nonprofit corporation, the Mason City Clear Lake Electric Railroad Historical Society, is completing the reconstruction. The corporation will establish a new railroad museum at Clear Lake, Iowa, to feature the tender, drawings, patterns, and historical documentation used during the construction of the locomotive. The focus of the museum will be on presenting and interpreting 19th century steam railroading. The project started in 1994. Now meet Stanley Gentry of Clear Lake, Iowa, the president of the Mason City Clear Lake Electric Railroad Historical Society.
Thank you, Chris. As Chris has told you, this project started in 1994 with a dream that grew in scale, literally. I was looking for a way to represent the old V&T equipment in a model railroad layout. My initial contact introduced me to Kyle Wyatt, historian at the Nevada State Railroad Museum in Carson City. Kyle shared copies of the original purchase orders and photos of the first three locomotives the V&T had purchased from the Union Iron Works in San Francisco. The Virginia and Truckee had scrapped the first two locomotives, the Lyon and the Ormsby, in the early 1890s, and then sold the third locomotive, the Story, which was then scrapped in the early 1900s. By this time, I had come to love the little Lyon. What is really so special is that if we could recreate this little wood burner as an exact replica, we would represent many aspects of the 19th century life on the railroad. And at the same time, we would not be destroying an actual artifact. We might even be creating a new artifact for generations to come. With copies of a few of the photos of the locomotive taken just before it was scrapped, a copy of the only surviving print, which was an assembly drawing from the Union Iron Works, and a purchase contract defining some of the technical requirements of the completed locomotive, a plan for construction began. The original print is in ink on linen and is preserved at the library at the California State Railroad Museum in California. The original purchase contract is in a Virginia and Truckee ledger preserved at the Nevada State Railroad Museum. To complete the locomotive, we would need drawings, so I enrolled in an AutoCAD drafting course at the local community college so that one day we could begin building this beautiful little locomotive. There are about 5,000 individual pieces required to build a 19th century locomotive and tender. This will require between 300 and 500 prints. Camped at my dining room table in the middle of winter, the drawings begin. After talking with the Mount Pleasant, Iowa shops, Chad O'Connor, and the Strasburg Railroad, we chose the Strasburg Railroad in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, to begin construction on the Lyon. The original agreement was that they would build the locomotive if I would do a majority of the drawings for the patterns and machine parts. Their requirement of us was that we would contact John H. White, Jr. and have him be a consultant on the project. Mr. White is Curator Emeritus of Transportation of the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History and the author of A History of American Locomotives, Its Development, 1830 through 1880, among other significant research texts on 19th century railroad car and locomotive manufacturing technology.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our first podcast of the building of the Lyon.